Obi and the Labour Party are saying that if all results from all polling units are properly collated, it will show that Peter Obi won the election. Welcome back to this channel. Much as what has been talked about in recent days is Peter Obi submitting his petition to the Presidential Election Tribunal. And for a lot of people, they've been wondering, does he really have a case? Well, I've been able to go through the whole petition that he's made available online, and I've been able to break down the key areas in which he's asking for legal remedy from the courts. Case number 1, Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima, the vice presidential candidate, are deemed not to be qualified to have run for the election in the first place. According to the constitution, the presidential candidate shall nominate the vice presidential candidate. However, the nominated candidate must not be running for any elective office at the time of the official nomination. In the case of Bola Tinubu, he nominated Kashim Shettima as the vice presidential candidate on July 14, 2022. However, on the date of that nomination, Shettima was still the senatorial candidate for Borno Central Senatorial District. Shettima only withdrew from the senatorial race on the 15th of July 2022. Therefore, Peter Obi and the Labour Party are asking the court to disqualify both Tinubu and Shettima from the race, as they were not qualified to run in the first place, and invalidate the votes they received. You may be wondering, even if Shettima is not qualified, how does that affect Bola Tinubu? It does, because it ought to be a joint ticket. Both the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate are a singular item as far as running for the election is concerned. If one is not qualified, then the other is not qualified. That's case number 1. Case number 2. The election of Bola Tinubu was based on corrupt practices and non-compliance of the Electoral Act. Bola Tinubu was not qualified to run for the presidency because he was fined $460,000 by United States District Court, according to the Peter Obi petition. The United States District Court fined Tinubu for dishonesty, namely narcotics trafficking. Peter Obi and the Labour Party are therefore saying by reason of such fine, Bola Tinubu should be disqualified from running for the presidency of Nigeria. Therefore, all the votes that are cast for him in the election should be invalidated by the courts. Case number 3. INEC did not comply with the Electoral Act. This particular case is based on INEC's performance. By virtue of the Electoral Act, INEC was required to use technological devices to accredit, verify, confirm, and authenticate voters. And for this purpose, on election day, INEC actually deployed bimodal voters accreditation systems, popularly known as BVAS. To this end, INEC was required to use these BVAS to electronically transmit the results from the polling units to the INEC collection centers or system. The presiding officer at the polling unit was required by law to use the BVAS to scan and upload the results, that is the form EC8A, to IREF viewing portal in real time, that is as it is happening on the ground. If the BVAS failed, as INEC claimed, INEC was required to send a replacement BVAS machine, and if that also fails, then INEC is required to cancel that particular election for that polling unit and reschedule it within 24 hours. That is what the law says. INEC obviously did not follow these guidelines. So, Peter Obi and the Labour Party are therefore asking the courts to nullify election results in polling units that did not strictly follow these important guidelines. As we all know, that would be the entire country. Case number 4. No one is allowed to vote in a polling unit they are not registered for. Using the PVC, INEC staff were required to verify, confirm, and authenticate voters before they are allowed to vote. This is to prevent people who are not registered to vote in a particular polling unit to actually vote there. INEC did not fully follow this guideline. Where this is the case, Peter Obi and the Labour Party says such results must be invalidated. Common sense, right? An interesting point made in the petition, almost on a side note, is that INEC uses Amazon Web Services to store its data. Peter Obi and the Labour Party have said they reserve the right to call Amazon staff to testify about the data stored in the Amazon storage facility by INEC. The implication of this is that if there are changes or differences from what is in the BVAS machine and IREF as opposed to what they have in the Amazon cloud storage services, INEC will have to explain the differences. Case number 5. The number of accredited voters in a polling unit must correspond with the number of votes captured in BVAS. The results uploaded in BVAS must match those from the polling unit according to the INEC regulations. There are significant discrepancies in the votes cast versus the votes captured. Another reason to invalidate the votes, according to Peter Obi. Peter Obi also filed that INEC denied him and the Labour Party the court-mandated order to allow them to view the certified copy of the election documents. INEC refused Peter Obi and his team to see all documents, specifically from Rivers State, Bayelsa State, and Benue State. The question is, what was INEC hiding by this action? The total number of votes cast in a polling unit should equal the number of accredited voters in the BVAS. Peter Obi is saying that the results of the following states did not match: Ekiti State, Oyo State, Ondo State, Taraba State, Osun State, Kano State, Rivers State, Borno State, Katsina State, Kwara State, Gombe, Yobe, and Niger State. He also said that the computation and declaration of results from the following states did not comply with the law: Rivers State, Lagos, Taraba, Benue, Adamawa, Imo, Bauchi, Borno, Kaduna, Plateau, etc. With this alone, how can the court not invalidate Bola Tinubu as winner of the election? Just keep watching. Case number 6. The lack of tracking data in INEC documents. INEC refused to record the serial numbers and identifying information in sensitive election documents such as ballot papers, and also refused to account for the number of documents. This is how they were able to manipulate the results. Without this data and metadata, it is impossible to track documents. INEC knew exactly what they were doing. Case number 7. Uploading unreadable documents and suppressing the votes of Peter Obi. INEC suppressed the votes of Peter Obi and the Labour Party in 18,088 polling units. INEC did this by deliberately uploading unreadable or blurred documents on the IREV. The implication of this is that there are discrepancies in the results uploaded versus the result obtained from the polling units. For example, according to INEC announcement for Rivers State, Peter Obi scored 175,071 votes, while Bola Tinubu scored 231,591 votes. However, the actual result from the polling units shows that Peter Obi actually scored 205,110 votes, while Bola Tinubu scored 84,108 votes. This is in Rivers State. For Benue State, INEC announced that Peter Obi scored 308,372 votes, while Bola Tinubu scored 310,468 votes. However, the actual result from the polling units showed that Peter Obi actually scored 329,003 votes, while Bola Tinubu scored 300,421 votes. Peter Obi is asking that for these two states, the results should be corrected and applied accordingly. Peter Obi and the Labour Party are saying that if all results from all polling units are properly collated, it will show that Peter Obi won the election. Case number 8. The case of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. This may be the most damaging of all the evidence for Bola Tinubu. Bola Tinubu did not score 25% of the votes in 24 states as well as Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. For that singular reason alone, he should not have been declared the winner of the presidential election. The only party and candidate that scored the required percentage of vote is Peter Obi and the Labour Party. They are therefore contending that Peter Obi meets this requirement and should be declared the winner of the presidential election. Now we wait and see what the court will do. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you think this is enough for Peter Obi to be declared president or for the election